everybody, my name is Dee Burks and this is Retirement Rescue. Well, today we are going to be talking about something that I've kind of touched on in numerous videos, but I wanted to dedicate a whole video to it. And that is the idea of unretirement. Can you unretire? And should you? And if you want to, how do you? So we're going to talk about all of those ideas in this video. Now, first of all, let's talk about the idea of unretirement. When you talk to someone about retirement, a lot of times, many of us have this idea that retirement is the pinnacle. It is the reward you have earned for working your butt off your whole life. And that time when you can just go enjoy life and do what you want to do. And it is that. It absolutely is that. And oftentimes when the idea of unretiring comes up, some people will take that as a step backwards. Like, oh, I failed. I didn't really get my, retirement didn't last. Oh, I'm so sad. It is not that at all. And that is not what I'm talking about. Here is one of the truths of retirement. And for people who retire early especially, they figure this out right quick. Sometimes your idea of retirement isn't really what retirement is. It is very different once you get there. Because when you're working, and we've all worked decades, and we so look forward to that time when our time is our own. We just go do what we want. We don't have to get up if we don't want to. We don't have to go to bed because tomorrow's work day. We don't have to do any of that. And won't that be grand? And the thing is, it is grand. Is this how it's going to be? Is this how it's going to be today? Is this how it's going to be, Tosh? Come on. You know, she can't stand me talking without everybody seeing her. Say hi. Say hi, everybody. But one of the interesting facts about retirement is often people retire and within 6 months to a year, they die. Why is that? How can that possibly be? The idea of doing whatever you want, whenever you want is great. And it is great. I don't want to downplay that. It is great. However, one of the things you quickly find is that human beings operate better if they're on a schedule. We all do. If you get up at the same time, if you go to bed at the same time, if you eat healthy food, if you get some exercise, we function better as human beings. We feel better. And what happens is mentally, when we no longer have something to do and we don't have that stimulation of talking to coworkers and figuring out problems and, being the person who can get things done, a lot of times we really disintegrate. A lot of times our mental state gets very dissatisfied. We don't feel like we have a purpose anymore. We don't feel like we contribute anymore. We feel like we become invisible. We absolutely feel invisible. And the thing is, as retired people, when we get together, a lot of times that's hard to talk about because you feel like, wait a minute, I've won the workaday lottery by being able to retire, but now I'm not happy. How do I explain that to people I know? How do I get help with that? What do I do? And I have talked to many, many retired people. And this is so common, especially for people who are used to being very productive. They've run their own business. They've been professionals in their own right. They've been very, very busy. They love to multitask and talk to coworkers and do things. All of a sudden, having nothing to do is not the utopia they thought it was. Now they just feel useless. But there's something you can do about it. Often you retire and you think, oh, I'm going to go and travel. And one of the things you find out about travel is it is wonderful, and it really is. But for the majority of people, once it becomes your norm, once anything becomes your norm, it kind of loses its appeal somewhat. And so while you may go and travel for a year or two, and you go to Europe, and you go do this, and you go do that, and that's fabulous, but then you want something else. If that becomes your norm, you want something else. That is true no matter what. If you want to go and live at the beach, maybe that's been your dream forever, and you go and you get you a condo at the beach, and that's going to be your retirement, Well, guess what? When you're at the beach every day, it's not the same as when you come as a tourist. Now it's the norm. And let me tell you what, for those of us who live in touristy areas, even though mine is not the beach, you really get sick of tourists. There are pluses and minuses to everything, and it's okay if you decide your retirement that you've always dreamed of, isn't really panning out like you wanted. And guess what? You can change it. You absolutely can change it. One of the best things you can ever do for yourself is to create a great schedule for yourself and to maintain your mental stimulation. A lot of us that have extensive business experience, we still have a lot to offer. I love working with clients because of that. It keeps me going. It keeps me stimulated. It keeps me solving problems and writing books and doing all those things. I do it because I love it. Yes, I get paid, but I do it because I love it. It's kind of a joke within the writing community that writers never really retire, and they don't. So when you retire, it's really important to go and do those things you've always dreamed of doing. But then think about what's next. What is next? What is going to keep you stimulated? For some people, it may not mean going back to work, and I'm not saying everybody has to go back to work. Maybe it's volunteering with a local nonprofit and becoming a core member of their team for free. You don't get paid. Not everything is about getting paid. It's about you being a vital, purposeful person in your retirement. But a lot of people do realize going back to work is really what drives them. It's what's always motivated them, especially for people who have a really strong work ethic. They struggle to sit at home. I mean, even if they have a 10-day vacation, those last few days, man, they're antsy to get back to work. They're kind of antsy to have something to do. And here again, once you retire and you do all the honeydews and you do all the things you want to your house, and then it's like, well, what's next? And we all take up hobbies. We all have hobbies at some level. But even that, maybe that's not enough stimulation for you. That's okay. But human beings were built to be challenged. Human beings weren't built to be in a safe, comfortable comfort zone. And as much as people talk about that being some kind of utopia, oh, we're all safe, it's boring. We get bored. And what happens when people get bored? They start fighting with the people they love. They start arguing with everybody. They dream up drama because there's not enough drama in their life. You know, they attract chaos. They become chaos magnets. And that is a really interesting phenomenon because that's the last thing you want to do is attract chaos into your retirement. So before that happens to you, or if that has happened to you, let's talk about, okay, what do you do? Let's say you've been out of the workforce a while. Those of us who are over 50 or over 55 now, those of us, we have incredible skill sets. And it's easy to think, especially if you've started feeling invisible, that nobody cares about those skill sets and no one wants your opinion about anything. That's true to a certain extent. However, it's also not true in very specific instances. There are so many times that people who are traveling the path you traveled, let's say you owned a business. Let's say you were a florist. My mother was a florist. Let's say you were a florist and you have this incredible amount of experience with customers, with clients, with growing your business, with knowing when to hire employees, when to take on seasonal employees. You have all of this experience. Younger florists would absolutely benefit from that experience, even if you went in just to help them part-time. There is so much that you can add and bring to their business. If you have corporate experience, maybe you worked for major corporations in human resources or strategic development or sales, especially sales. There are so many things you can help younger people with. It's easy to think, even if you're not on all the social medias, even if you don't do all that stuff, that somehow you're not valuable. And that's not true, because no matter what industry someone is in, it still comes down to communication and relationships with people. But that does not mean you have to go back into this huge corporate existence. You can consult, you can assist, you can work part-time, you can volunteer, but what you have to do is find a way to challenge yourself. You've got to have a reason to get out of that bed in the morning. You've got to have a reason to stop at that second cup of coffee instead of going and drinking 2 pots of coffee. Because guess what? Once you retire, the biggest challenge is finding a way to fill your time where you don't feel it's like a complete waste of your day. That is one of the reasons so many retirees end up just sitting, staring into space in front of their television, because they can't figure out a way to spend their time that is meaningful to them, that adds to their life. If you are feeling anxious and like, boy, you just want to go do something, go find something to do. Go talk to people you know and tell them, hey, I'm thinking about this or I'm thinking about that. I used to live across the street from a lady named Miss Gentry, and this was, gosh, 30 years ago. But even then, her husband had died. She was all alone. She had plenty of money. She didn't need any money. But she would go down, and she worked clear into her 90s at Joann's, a little fabric store. You know, all of you have been to Joann's probably. And she worked there forever, not because she needed the money, because she loved talking to people about their projects, about what they were doing. She needed the social interaction. And she said herself so many times she didn't want to go down to a senior center and sit around talking to old people who were unhappy and all they talked about was the weather and their hemorrhoids. And she's 1,000% true. No one wants to do that. And it makes me wonder sometimes about the people who do that. It's like, is that the pinnacle of their existence? Is that all they get out of life? Is it just a habit? I have a feeling it's just a habit. It's a habit they created. It gives them something to do. They don't even necessarily like it. So, but you can choose. You can choose clear up into your 90s or 100. If you can pull a Betty White, hey, and be working until you're 100. That's your choice. That was her choice. And it was a good one. If you have things you love to do, go do them. Don't let this idea of, oh, I've retired, I'm supposed to be happy over here doing nothing. That is a fallacy. It's a myth and it's a lie. And one of the biggest perpetrators of that myth is our kids, because they're still in that mode of, oh man, I want to get to that point I can just retire. And they're jealous to a certain extent that you've gotten to that point, but they're happy for you. But they want you to enjoy it. And to them that means, oh, you go do something fun. You don't go work. I will tell you, the only reason Miss Gentry finally quit the fabric store was her kids didn't think it was good for her to be working. And she finally gave in. And within 2 years, she was in a home and she died. And that's unfortunate because I really... Thank you all for being with me on this video, and go make your life something you want it to be. And if you want to go unretire, by golly, you do it.